Come on.
With the news that the highly successful animated movie How to Train Your Dragon will be turned into a live-action movie, many people are quick to question Dreamworks and Universal's real goals. Even though some people laugh at the idea of a new start, people should be excited about the stories and ideas that come out of an expanded Dragon universe. There's so many things going against Universal. Audiences and critics seem tired of all the work Disney has put into making live-action versions of their movies. There are many things going against Universal. Audiences and critics seem tired of all the work Disney has put into making live-action versions of their movies. Since Alice in Wonderland came out in 2010, Disney has brought many of their animated favorites to life. The Little Mermaid 2023, Snow White 2024, Hercules, and Lilo and Stitch, both to be announced, are all set to come to life in the next few years. Universal has also had trouble getting an expanded cinematic universe off the ground in the past. Their failed Dark Universe, which was started by Tom Cruise's version of The Mummy, didn't do well enough for them to keep going. How to Train Your Dragon hopes to give a new look to a recent classic as the studio looks for its next big hit series. With the original co-director Dean DeBlois on board to write and direct the live-action version, it's clear that the studio wants to stay mostly true to the original trilogy. However, it's still unclear whether this version will be a straight remake of the animated movie or a continuation of the existing story. Since each animated sequel made the characters older and more experienced, it would be interesting to see them continue their adventures as young adults. Like another favorite from childhood, Harry Potter, future How to Train Your Dragon movies could become darker and more serious as their audience continues to grow up, and this could carry on a tradition that DeBlois started when he made the animated trilogy. DeBlois has all the tools he needs to make a fantasy action movie as emotionally complex and thrillingly entertaining as a series like Harry Potter. He can do this by giving the movie a tougher exterior and keeping the show's values about family. This could also be a good way to make up for some of the problems with the Dark Universe. The How to Train Your Dragon universe is more well-known and liked than any of the other main titles in the project that didn't work out, which is a good sign for how well it'll do at the box office. Raising the stakes in the town of Berk will definitely please audiences of all ages if the live-action adaptation can live up to other long-running fantasy worlds like Harry Potter 2001 to 2011, Narnia 2005 to 2010, and Game of Thrones 2011 to 2019. How to Train Your Dragon is different from Disney's animation style in that it tries to look like real life. Before Toy Story 4 2019 wowed audiences with its perfect images, How to Train Your Dragon tried to make light and color look like real life. This was shown by the fact that award-winning cinematographer Roger was hired as a visual consultant for the first film in 2010. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World 2019, the third movie in the series, which used a new rendering system to support the film's images, which were more complicated than in the first two movies. Roger would be a good choice to return as the director of photography for the live-action version of Dragon, which is still putting together its cast. Roger may be the best person to bring this huge story to life. He has worked on remakes of blockbuster movies like Skyfall 2012 and Blade Runner 2049 2017, as well as the animated movie Rango 2011. His eye for the frame would make the Dragon universe even more beautiful while staying true to the series' commitment to the beautiful pictures. How to Train Your Dragon will probably have an easier time bringing the animation's whimsy and horror to real life than most of Disney's 2D movies, since most of the original animated movies was based on real events. But the dragons will be part of what makes the movie interesting. Because CGI has come a long way, people will have high hopes for a realistic Toothless. However, those hopes may depend on where the animators want to land land in the uncanny valley. Will Dragon be less realistic than movies like Sonic the Hedgehog in 2020 and Pokemon Detective Pikachu 2019? Or will it be more realistic, like Disney's The Lion King 2019? Even though the new live-action version won't come out until 2025, people will keep talking about it and watching to see if it can keep up with the success of the original animated trilogy. With a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon coming out, let's look back at the animated series and see how much it grew in such a short amount of time. Here is the whole world of How to Train Your Dragon in order of when things happened. The 3 movies are all about how Hiccup goes from being a shy child to a strong man. How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World are all movies that everyone has seen. Between 2010 and 2019, these 3 stories came out. They are one of the best-rated animated trilogies ever made. The animated shows that tell stories about the supporting characters and smaller stories set in Dragon's universe are a big part of the How to Train Your Dragon mythos. Dragons is about what happens to Hiccup and his friends between the first and second movies. Riders of Berk, Defenders of Berk, and Race to the Edge are all shows that go deeper into the world of dragons and work with the movies. They go into detail about how the story's lore-heavy parts and show how Hiccup, his friends, and most importantly, Berk and its relationship with dragons fit together. The show had more than one storyline in each of its 3 versions. Dragons: The 9 Realms is a sequel series that takes place 1,300 years after the events of How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. In Dragons: The 9 Realms, dragons are just stories from a long time ago. A group of kids in the present day find out the truth about dragons and where they have been hiding all this time. Dragons: The 9 Realms is a sequel to How to Train Your Dragon series. It follows a whole new group of characters that adds to the world's history. It's aimed at a younger audience than the earlier movies, but you should still check it out if you want to learn more about the universe. But a live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon could be a bad idea for Universal for a number of reasons. Given how well the animated How to Train Your Dragon movies did, it's easy to see why people might be skeptical about a live-action version. Even though it might look like a money grab by the studios, the live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie will still have some important creatives, like the director Dean DeBlois, who directed all 3 animated movies, and the composer John Powell, who worked in all 3 animated movies. Still, there are worries about what could go wrong with a remake of something as beloved as the original animated trilogy. Here are some reasons why a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon might not be a good idea. The idea of making a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragons is bad. The 3 movies should be put in the same category as the best modern trilogies. The How to Train Your Dragon movies have a magical feel to them because of the great voice actors, beautiful animation, and touching story. All of them did well at the box office, and with critics, that is why Universal wants to make live-action versions of them. But that doesn't get at why it can be good to remake animated movies. It'll be hard for a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon to beat the animated ones. With its live-action remakes, Disney has brought the original story and characters into the present. This can be seen in how Aladdin gave Jasmine a bigger part, how Mulan got rid of harmful stereotypes, and how The Little Mermaid made the characters more different. But How to Train Your Dragon is a modern animated movie, so a live-action remake wouldn't be able to change much about the story. How to Train Your Dragon doesn't need to be redone just because the bad guy is better or the side characters are a little more developed. Thanks for tuning into our video on everything we know about How to Train Your Dragon 4, set to release in 2025. From the rumor plot to the potential return of the favorite characters, we hope this has left you excited and eagerly anticipating the next chapter in this beloved franchise. Stay tuned for more updates.